welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking to our distinguished guest today, Syed Hassan, editor of Asian Age, and a writer, a historian, an observer of international affairs. We were in America at that point when we took a break, and let's go back to America for a little while.
Yes.
Yes, Black Lives Matter.
Yes. Black Lives Matter. You know?
Yes.
That's been taking the world by storm.
Right. Do they? And 500 years on, things have changed, but not very significantly. Despite Obama, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Michael Jackson, famous players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, and a host of other black icons, music, sports, whatever, politics. Blacks in general are still marginalized in the United States and also in many countries. They say frustration is caused by high-handedness, mishandling, and also exploitations, and then it results in violence. See, but what we saw recently in America, the death of a young 45 or 46-year-old gentleman at the hands of police while in custody.
George Floyd, yes.
George Floyd, yes. It wasn't a result of any violence on the part of George Floyd. There was no violence, there was no frustration. He was sitting in a car, he was arrested or taken into custody at that moment. But these things have been happening for quite some time in many countries. Do you think that somewhere down the history of these 500 years of blacks being imported from African countries, not for the love of their color, but for the love of their labor, they could be used on farms, they could be used to build railways, they could be used to build highways, and they were possibly paid also, but they were treated very badly. Despite all the successes of the number of men that I named, things have not improved, though they have the same culture, same language, same faith, they listen to the same music, watch the same sports, and yet the difference remains. Do you think that there is something wrong with our DNA, something wrong with our mental attitude? Why is it happening everywhere now?
I think there is, of course, institutional racism, as it were. It's there.
Yep.
It's been there in the United States. It's there in so many other countries in the West. That is there. And if we look at the United States, for instance, you recall that a few years ago, Donald Trump, before he became a candidate, before he became president, he went out of his way to try to prove that Barack Obama had not been born in the United States, but that he had been born in Kenya. Now, the way he went about his work, it clearly proved that he and people like him were unhappy that a black man was president of the United States.
Right.
That shows the extent to which racism still lives in the world, and not just in the United States. Here also, we have had examples of blacks complaining about ill treatment by the police and by others. And again, on a broader scale, I think people in general have always had a problem with the word black. If you think back on our own subcontinent, there are still families, there's still the tendency for families to go looking for brides who are fair in complexion.
Yes.
Black is for them ugly. And so they don't entertain the color black. And then we also have these creams and powders and what have you.
Fair and lovely.
In order to make people, in order to turn women's dark skins white. Now, this is, I think, this is again human nature, a very bad aspect of human nature. It has gone on. So this is institutional racism everywhere. Recently, if you recall, a few months ago, some African students in India at Jawaharlal Nehru University, they were beaten up by other Indians. In China, a few weeks ago, Ghanaian students were beaten up. They were being blamed for being carriers of the coronavirus disease. So, see, everywhere we've seen, everywhere there's a problem in societies. Blacks are usually blamed, despite the fact that a man like Martin Luther King in 1963 expressed his dream that one day he expected one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners to sit at the same table to be together. And he also said that he looked forward to a day when he expected his children not to be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That has not quite happened. We're still a long way off. Now, if we stick to America, well, a good many improvements have been made in the lives of blacks. For example, we have black ministers, black generals, black ambassadors, but still a whole lot needs to be done. The murder, it was plain murder. The murder of George Floyd, it shows very clearly how society is falling behind in the United States, and of course, to a certain extent, in other countries also. So black lives matter. Yes, they do matter. I think the time has come for this issue to be taken seriously, and now that it has taken the shape of a movement. I hope, or we all hope, that something positive will be done, as we have seen lately with the pulling down of certain statues in the United Kingdom. Now, I don't expect all statues to be pulled down, because there's also some historic significance to these statues. But then there are certain ideas, certain historical stories, backgrounds.
Some of them were slave traders.
We cannot ignore.
Well, some of them were slave traders, so that is a stamp of unpopularity.
Exactly, and Africa has been the most exploited continent. If you think of the Belgian King Leopold II, the way he looted Africa, and the way other people looted Africa, this is amazing. Not just amazing. I mean, that might sound positive. It's shocking.
In India was also looted.
The other day, somebody sent me a video on Facebook. Muhammad Ali, the boxer Muhammad Ali, former Cassius Clay.
Yes, an interview with Michael Jackson. Michael Parkinson.
Yes, so the way he was talking about the color black, he was doing it in a very humorous way, but then the undertone was absolutely serious.
I remember that. Yes, I remember that. Having watched it. Yes. He all talked about the black male and why is it that Jesus is white and Mary is white and Sansa is white.
Angels are white. And there's Snow White, not Snow Black.
Well, that is because, as somebody said, the winner is the hero. See, victors are the writers of history. They write the history.
It reminds me of Harper Lee's very seminal work, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
The judge, the lawyer Atticus Finch, and the black man accused of rape. So that has still come down, despite Abraham Lincoln in 1863, his Emancipation Proclamation, despite Martin Luther King. We still have that institutional problem.
Is it because this is continuing because of this is the legacy of colonialization? See, like in India, as you mentioned that when I'm talking about India, I talk about all the three countries, and including Sri Lanka, where color is the thing when people or the mother-in-laws, would-be mother-in-laws, go out fishing for a would-be bride for their bride sons. See, and she has to be gori chitti. She has to be very fair. See, it should be fair. If she's not fair, then it's not good enough. You see, is it because our rulers were white, so we thought that the white color is good? Because our poets, our writers have also used the same things. You see, when they describe a girl, a marriageable girl, a girl of marriageable age, a beautiful girl, she would definitely be white like snow. She would not be black, you see. Though tradition has it that the famous Laila was black, see. And that is why the Persian line that Laila ba chashme Majnu ba Deed. So you have to look at Laila from the eyes of Majnu. Don't look at her from a different angle. See.
Yes, but that's the problem. People do look at her, or people like her, from a different angle. If you think of the movies that we produce in the subcontinent, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, see, even today we see these leading ladies. We call them heroines in our local parlance.
Yeah.
They're all very beautiful, very fair.
Yeah.
And when they come in a dance scene, you see there all the other women around them.
Yeah.
They're also fair, but a little less fair.
Yeah.
So you see, the concept is
probably on purpose. Probably on purpose to make the heroine look better.
And yes, and even in our country, in Bangladesh, I've heard people describing handsome young men in Bengali. ছেলেটি দেখতে একদম সাহেবের মতো দেখতে. By সাহেবের মতো দেখতে, they mean Englishmen and American men with white skin. This concept, this is really an inferiority complex. But they think that's an apt way of describing the appearance of a person. See, and in describing a woman, একদম পরীর মতো দেখতে, পরীর মতো সুন্দর, শুভ্র. You know, there have been names of shops called Shubhro Proshun, white flower. So this is there, I think. We don't know. I mean, why do we see I've seen people when they read Shakespeare's Hamlet, King Lear, they're very happy. But there are many people who do not seem very impressed with Othello because he had dark skin.
But as I was talking about, definitely white flower looks better, but there are red roses and pink roses and yellow roses and white roses. White flowers do look heavenly because that is how we have been trained to see things. See? But don't you think, as I was saying before, see, that our poets and our writers, particularly story writers and novel writers, fiction writers, they have also fallen to this trap, and they have trained their readers to understand or believe that white is good, fair is good, fair is fair. White,
they have made their own contributions to this, decadent culture, if I may put it that way. Say, because they're also responsible. We can't let them off the hook.
True. Good. Well, we have achieved something today. The other point.
On this note, if I may mention, in the pre-1971 days, I still remember how the West Pakistanis looked at Bengalis. They always described us as short, as having dark skin. And as I mentioned in a recent article, right after the elections of December 1970, a senior West Pakistani military officer, he had the rank of Lieutenant General or Major General, he told his soldiers in Dhaka, in East Pakistan at that time, he said, we will not let these black bastards rule over us. It was a few days after the election. So you see, the term black and their consciousness of their skin and our skin. And they didn't let us rule because we were black. They didn't think that we would be able to rule the entirety of Pakistan. So that racism was also there.
Yes, it's always there. It's always there. We are pretty racist ourselves, you see. We are pretty racist ourselves, you see.
That goes without saying. That goes here. We are definitely. We can't pretend that we are all right and we are fine and everything's all right with the world. We are not all right, and everything is not all right with the world.
But to a white man, all Indians are black, whether they are fair or not. So,
Gandhi was thrown out of a train in South Africa because he was black. In the perception of those white people.
Yes.
And of course, there's the most recent example of South Africa, apartheid.
Yep.
The struggle, the long struggle, people like Nelson Mandela put up. You know, so who is there? You asked me a question a short while ago, whether there's anybody to compare with General de Gaulle.
Yeah.
Well, if Mandela were here, I would say yes, there is Nelson Mandela.
Yep.
So, such a great man.
Yep.
But then you see, if you think of Nelson Mandela, the sheer breadth of vision that he had, the rainbow nation that he created in South Africa, that is remarkable. See, that is something that cannot be recreated. That has not been created by anyone else we know.
Well, that's very true. Well, that's very true, sir. He earned it. He worked hard for it, and when time came for him to remain at the top, he gave it to others, and he retired. Not many people have done that, and some people who have not done that have suffered, and you and I know. I will not name them. Sir, I would like to talk about the impact of corona pandemic. A lot of people are talking about these days that we have been suffering, and children are suffering, and we are homebound, we are working from home. But in the long run, what is going to happen? Last 3, 4, 5 months, have changed our perception of how we work, how we communicate. Well, today's interview is an example that how we can, you living in London, I am in London, I am in the studio, you are not very far away, but we are still talking to each other, we can see each other, or probably you can't see me, but I can see you. You are sitting in your library, you had a cup of coffee with you, so now I can see you, we can talk. So it is going to change the working lives of many people in this country and many other countries, because now you don't need to go to offices, you can work from home. What you need is a good Wi-Fi connection. That's all. You can save on electricity, you can save on gas, you can save on fuel. You don't need to spend time commuting to your office. You don't have to hire or rent an apartment in Manhattan or in central London or Gulshan or anywhere else in Bombay, in Delhi, in the central part. You can live in your suburban house, and you can communicate fully and do the job. So why would these multinationals invest in high rise buildings and these iconic buildings that we have even in this country? We have in this city, we have this particular area called Canary Wharf, where young people with young children have problem because there are not enough schools for them. So these are professional persons. They could be living, and probably their grandparents could have been looking after their children. Now this is going to change. How much do you see into future, that how much will be the impact of it, or is it just somebody's idea?
Well, from quite a positive point of view, I will say that just as you and I are talking, maintaining a distance, not social distance, but an absolute geographical distance, that is one positive thing. We can be at home and we can do our work online. Of course, has been there for a long time. Now interviews are also taking place. That is okay. That is okay up to a point. But then you talked of multinationals a few seconds ago. This coronavirus pandemic. The danger is that it is having a huge negative psychological effect on people, because people are losing jobs indeed everywhere, every country, and people are not being able to meet each other. They're not being able to connect with each other. See, there's always beauty in the physical touch, in the physical connection. So that is not happening, and we don't know how long this pandemic will go on, because if it is, I sometimes say that, you see, we have begun to live a masked existence. So, and when we'll be unmasked, I'm not quite sure. But then I think the real problem is with people losing jobs, with, for example, if I refer to Bangladesh,
Right.
there are tens of thousands of workers who have gone back to the villages because they can't live in Dhaka, they can't pay their pay their house rents to their landlords. They've gone back to the villages, and then there are also people who have these house help, maid servants, as it is said
Yep.
in Bangladesh. They have lost their jobs, and this has brought out in Bangladesh and among people elsewhere some of the best of human nature and some of the worst of human nature.
True.
The best in the sense that people have gone out to help all those in need who have lost their jobs. The worst is when somebody, a family or the lady in a family decides that since the maid servant has not been working there for 1 or 2 months, she doesn't deserve to be paid her monthly wages. Now that is the insensitive side of it.
True,
because
true.
that person, that woman who has been working, she has a family. You can't just say she can't be paid.
Yep.
That is there. Then again, on the other side, socially, yes, we meet on through this Skype. We meet through Zoom. That is there. But then, how long do we have to wait before we can actually go out and we can actually shake hands with
see.
one another,
Embrace each other,
and say that life is has returned to normal. See, and if, on a lighter note, if you think of young people, you think of middle-aged people, you think of elderly people, we also have this sense of romance. I'd like to go out with my wife, and I'd like to hold her hand,
Yep.
and let's go to a park, let's go to a restaurant, and have something to eat. That is not happening. So I'm really worried, and sometimes I feel rather apocalyptic.
Yep.
Will we be able to return to our normal world? Will it happen in our lifetime, my lifetime, your lifetime? Will it happen, or will it go on? And we still don't know. So this is one area where no predictions can be made. And the only I tell myself this is also as good a time as any to remember God. So there are many people who would disagree with me, but then there is some purpose in everything that the Almighty does.
Yep.
So I think it is a time when we are being tested, and how long we will be tested, whether out of this crisis we will come out as better human beings, as nobler human beings, that remains a question.
Well, this is part of evolution, don't you think so? Because a lot of people have died and will be dying perhaps as a result of catching this
Yes.
virus. But I'm sure, and because of this lockdown and isolations and working from home, come 2021, early 2021, we are going to have a baby boom.
Yes,
That is coming.
like the Americans had a baby boom generation in the 1940s. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. On a very positive point, we look forward to 2021 with more young children bringing happiness to our life. It was a pleasure hosting you. It was wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the program again. Thank you so
sir.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, viewers, for being with us, and we hope that you've enjoyed the show as much as we have. And we have discussed a few things that were very close to our heart, and I hope that you have come out wiser. We have come out wiser. Thank you. Same time, same channel next week.